Look at that front. Is that already a premium SUV? Let's take a closer look at the revised Hyundai Santa Fe. Let's go! You're joining Thomas in Autogefühl, and you can see that the Hyundai Santa Fe now has this really premium-like front grille, really strong, but then with the bright accentuations right here. So I think a very cool and bold styling. In the XRT trim level in the US, you can also get a black front grille, by the way, for a more sinister look. The LED signature here is very interesting because it's kind of split, and LED headlamps are now also standard. The length is at 4.78 meters or 188 inches. Lowest trims begin with 18-inch wheels. Here the plug-in hybrid we have today already begins with 19-inch, and option you can also get 20-inch wheels. Here you can see the styling is not that daring actually. It's more rather focused on the space you have than on the interior. Main design line is right here, and also the crossover wheel arches, but they are not too big actually, so more form follows function design in the side profile. A modern light signature for the rear, but really astonishing is look at how high this car is building here in the rear. That's quite unusual. More and more SUVs, or then as they're called SUV coupes, rather cut the roofline down for design purposes, but then you lack the space on the interior. But here we can see that we can expect a lot of interior space soon. Car key feels really good quality-wise as well. What about door closing sound? Pretty solid, but yeah, you hear it. These vehicles here, especially the Hyundai and Kias and Genesis, they are always beeping somewhere, somewhat, of course, when key is not in the vehicle or when the ignition is on, beep, beep, beep. Inside of the door is a little bit soft, but here the build quality is actually quite decent. Also here memory seats and so on, and the window controls. Then the steering wheel has a quite modern style. Base versions would also come with analog instruments, but here in the PHEV already the 12.3-inch digital instruments, clear to read. And then seats, the base versions come also in black or beige fabric. I recommend these. This is here the animal skin seat then. Seating comfort is good actually. Also headroom with 1.86 6.1. A lot of headroom left here actually. Then steering in and out, up and down is also a good and smooth process. So pretty decent. A clean cockpit layout. The low trim version would start with 8-inch. Here then 10.25-inch screen in the middle, and also a very clean design here. This is then also a leatherette dashboard with contrast stitches. It's actually quite cool. Here, this is what I want to show you. This middle console. I would like to know from you. Is it too much buttons, or is it exactly right? Well, on the one hand, it looks a little bit, too much maybe. This is interesting here also the gear selector. Here reverse, neutral and D. This in the parking. And what I found best, of course, we have still a manual climate unit and a manual volume button here or jog. This I found pretty cool. That's also interesting. Here sports mode, for example, we tested while driving. When you click it here, then you are in the terrain modes. Not sure why they, probably that you don't get to the terrain mode by mistake if you just turn further. That's probably the reason for that. But this is actually quite well done. Also that you have separate buttons here for seat heating, seat heating and the steering wheel heating. Oh, there's a cooling. No, it doesn't work at the simultaneously. Yeah, it's really a thing of too much or exactly right. I think I would love these maybe. But maybe a nice gear selector would have been better. But here you can have a flatter integration. But maybe a little bit less of these buttons, for example. That would have been a cool mix. The digital instruments, they switch according to the driving mode. That looks quite cool, like this. But here in these modes it doesn't switch. It's more like the normal street driving mode where it switches. So very nice visualization. And of course you can also get a digital speedometer in there. And route guidance can also be in the middle here when you have a route set. Then you can also get a head-up display with some more help in your line of sight. Infotainment, I would rather use Apple CarPlay and Android Auto all the time indeed. And here this is the optional Krell sound system. Let's test that. Well, it has a very good sound indeed. And whoa, very bass intensive. So maybe I would even turn down the bass a little bit. But the sound is really good for music lovers indeed. So back to my point that the normal Hyundai system, it's okay, of course. I feel that also has become faster. This is kind of like a screensaver mode, so to speak, here. And when you click it, Then you can also get in the map. The map itself, of course, is rather old school. I still can't get over this grappling hook effect they have here in the Hyundai, Kia and Genesis models. Not sure why. So not most modern map. That's why I would rather use CarPlay and Auto. But so far the system seems reliable and also fast enough. I think that's the most important thing here, like this PHEV view. We'll talk a little bit about that while driving. And the middle console here, well, I have my phone here with a cable and I've put it here. This would also be an inductive charging pad. It goes like further in there. Then your phone has to lean against this wall. But for the CarPlay and Auto, I usually have the cable in anyway. Then the cup holder is here, adaptive, the other one as well. And then there's more space underneath this cover. The rear door opens wide, also soft touch at the inside. That's actually quite cool. And then we have a lot of legroom here, 1.86 or 6'1". Also headroom, no problem, so a lot of space. Here you can also adjust the back part of the seat, so more like back and more upright. And you also see that when you fold the seats, that they go a little bit down here as well. Look at that. So then you soon have an even loading area in the trunk. And you can also move it in the length if you want maximum legroom like this, or if you want a little bit more trunk, then we soon show you. You can even make it longer like this, just by the cost of... What? Really? Seen that? I mean, never seen that before. I mean, when I push that whole thing forward, like this, oh my, you can kind of directly move it to the front seat. It's like, wow. That's amazing. But the reason, why is that? If you have a 7-seater version, which is available in Europe, then you can also, of course, easier access that third seating row. The cup holders in the rear are not adaptive though, but you have good charging possibility, a real power socket and also 2 USB-A chargers. Look at that, 630 up to 1,700 liters. You lose about 50 liters when you go for the 7-seater option. The length here is 1 meters 10 or 43 inches. That's really good. And the width here in the latter part, even here, more than a meter in the lower part. So like 1 meters 10 here as well and 43 inches. And even wider right here. I hardly ever have seen such a wide... Look at that. I mean, this is like... It's like 1 meter 35 or something and 54 inches in the width here in the top part. That's awesome. And then we have the electric folding mechanism right here. Here we go. And then to the front seats. Yeah, we can reach something, 1 meters 95 or 77 inches to the front seats. So again, very well usable. As engines, you get a 1.6 liter turbo petrol engine, either as an inbuilt hybrid or as a plug-in hybrid, then with 265 horsepower system output and 8.8 seconds in the acceleration figure. You can also get that all-wheel drive both for the inbuilt hybrid, and you also get it here for the plug-in hybrid. Then, depending on the market, also 2.2 liter diesel and 2.5 liter and a 3.5 liter V6 naturally aspirated engine. Welcome to Thomas's driving lounge with the Hyundai Santa Fe here. And since we have the plug-in hybrid drivetrain, we're rolling downhill, EV mode only, we're also recuperating. But when we put it to the sports mode, everything is of course activated combustion engine plus electric power at the same time. And we'll start from 50 kilometers an hour. We give you the digital speed, there it is, 50 kilometers an hour, let's go. $100. 150. Now it gets quite fast. We're reaching almost top speed. And yeah, we're stuck at around 180. Or something more. Steering goes a little bit light now without so much feeling. But lane change is still good. Suspension is managing that very well. Another lane change here. Yeah, 186 kilometers an hour top speed. Gets quite noisy here, of course. It's a high building car, and they also do not set emphasis on high speed noise insulation. But let's put it to a more normal motorway speed. Let's see here, for example, at 120 kilometers an hour. Still not too silent though. Here at around 100 kilometers an hour, that's then more, the speed that this car is preferring. That's on 60 miles an hour. Yeah, it's not too bad, but also not great noise insulation here at higher speeds. Interesting also, as for the distribution, all-wheel drive, there's also, special gauge then in there. Even if you have an all-wheel drive version, it's still kind of front-wheel drive predominant in this case here. And when you, for example, accelerate slightly, you see here like half of the power, now almost full power front wheels. Back wheels, just a little power, so not too much. Let's see, once again, if I go to the sports mode and wait for that gauge, and then hit it. Yeah, then more power is being put to the rear wheels, but even in that case, you can see more power still remains at the front. The suspension is not the best about this vehicle. It's not bad at all or something, but you feel that it's not a very sporty one, it's not a super comfortable one. I think it's a nice average, but nothing too special. We had that now a couple of times, that with the Hyundai, Kia and Genesis, that the suspension is not their expertise, so maybe they can fix that in the future. Again, nothing where we would say like with Tesla at the moment, where it's like, whoa, that's definitely their absolute weak spot with Tesla. Here, but in comparison to the German manufacturers, the Germans do better suspensions, and Ford as well, so that's a clear thing. But here, what you have as a good thing in the Hyundai, Kia and Genesis vehicles, you have still more buttons to press while driving. And here I can, while driving, I can access the monitor here, the touchscreen, quite well, and I can also here access the volume control, also the drive mode select, and also the manual climate unit. And some might say, that's maybe that's like too conservative or something, but to me this is like a good conservative thing, because I still want real buttons, and we also have them at the steering wheel, for example, to adjust the cruise control, so that's actually quite cool. Let's go to sports mode once again, see about acceleration when we are already at speed at 80 kilometers an hour. 130, 160, that's then enough for now. So power is definitely enough. Here now wind noise are picking up once again. You feel like steering a bigger ship, so the car doesn't feel light. It is also not light at all. Is the plug-in, that guy overtook me on the other side earlier. Seems to be on a speeding run or something. Not that I would use this motorway for testing it. Yeah. Welcome to Germany. When I go some left-right, I have a very good feeling with that steering wheel, so it's pretty precise as well. Just at the really high speed situations, I wasn't that, that convinced, but here so far, good steering feeling, not too soft, not too hard. Now here 90-degree bends. Let's see how almost have to turn 180, so it's not too progressive. I really like it that when you have vehicles where you have a 90-degree corner and you just have to turn the steering wheel 90 degrees. So I do prefer this more progressive behavior of the steering wheel. Progressive means the more you turn the steering wheel, the more the wheels turn in, and then you kind of have it sometimes aligned in the degree figures. About fuel economy, well, if we drive long-term motorway, then of course the plug-in hybrid assist will not play such a role. So when you more focus on the combustion engine consumption together with some help of recuperation, it's more towards 8 liters or more than kilometers, 30 mpg US, 35 mpg UK. However, if you're of course frequently recharging that vehicle, then you can have like zero fuel consumption and just commute all electric during the week or something if you have a short way to work. So calculate with some 50 kilometers or 30 miles of pure electric range, something like that. Won't be that much actually, but overall a quite likable feeling. The ride is, I would say, how can you describe it? I would say it's rather boring, but that doesn't mean that that's a bad thing, you know. So boring in that case can also mean that there's nothing that really disturbs you. It doesn't, you know, crawl for attention, doesn't want to be a sporty SUV. It does everything it offers, and it does very well, and just gives you, you know, calmness to focus on driving and just getting to your destination, you know. So indeed, the Hyundai Santa Fe, among the SUVs in this segment here, one of the most, I would say, unpretentious one. If you think about the competitors, you know, at that size, they do not have a cheap price for that one. Yet again, it's not as expensive as the premium competition. We recently had the Audi Q5 also as a PHEV. Maybe consider that one, then of course you pay a higher price. Some also consider the Skoda Kodiaq, that, you know, would be more price comparable, and this one also offers a lot of interior space. So why don't you check out these episodes?